We're live.
Okay. Okay, then. Good evening, everyone. My name is Sanjana, and welcome to the second edition of Placement Tales Triply 2022. I am a member of the CMS Club and one of the moderators for today. We've received amazing responses for our previous Placement Tale episodes and our Master Application
Good
series.
evening, everyone.
We
My
have
name is
invited a
Sanjana,
panel of wonderful
and
people from the Triply
welcome to
department,
Placement
all
Tales
in very
Triply.
different job profiles, and to give you a better idea of the type of career you choose. We hope you get some solid takeaways from their journeys and draw from their experiences to make your placement journey as smooth as possible.
We have invited a
I would
panel
like
of
to hand it
wonderful
over to
people from the
Vismaya.
Triply department, all in very different job profiles, and to give you a better idea of the type of career you choose. We hope you get some solid takeaways from
Okay,
their
thank you,
journeys
Sanjana.
and draw from their
Hello, everyone.
experiences
I'm
to
Vismaya
make
R,
your
post-SEM
placement
CSE
journey
student.
as smooth as
I've been a
possible.
part of CMS for about an year, and today I'm a co-moderator for this event. Without any delay, let's start off the event. Firstly, I would like to introduce all our panelists we have today. So we have Srikrishna BR, hi, and Mikhail Lopes, hi, Suraj Patel M,
Hi guys.
hi, and Pooja Prasad, hi, Pranav Padmapada, Pranav Padmapada.
Yeah, he's joining in shortly.
Okay, and Padma Priya V. Welcome you all panelists. So, firstly, I would like to ask the panelists to share their journey with us. I think firstly, Sri Krishna BR can take off.
Yeah, sure.
Thank
uh, yeah, hello everyone. My name is Srikrishna BR, and I'm currently a researcher at the Indian Institute of Science, IISc Bangalore. And my research is in the domain of robot motion planning, which is technically planning motions and paths for robots. And yeah, I'm glad to be here. Thank you. I thank everyone, the organizers, for inviting me to this event. So, talking a bit about myself, I graduated from PES in last year in 2021, and I was in their Triple E department. And um, the the reason why I did not sit for placements is because I kind of realized during my engineering that uh, what my passion lied in the domain of theoretical research in the domain of robot motion planning, which is why I actually did not sit for placements. I sat for like maybe one or two tests just for the sake of experience, and then I focused entirely on getting into IISc or one of the IITs for a research job. So my GPA was around like 8.78 when I graduated, and it was always around 8.6, 8.7. So for those who are interested in staying back in academia as a researcher, I honestly don't think you're. I mean, whether the GPA matters or not is highly subjective to the department, the university, the professor, the field of interest of yours, and so many other parameters. So, uh, but till now, I haven't really come across like a hard threshold of GPA in most of the researcher roles which I've seen um, in IIC, IITs, and other universities. So, compared to industrial placements, which happened during my time at PES, where they give cutoffs, GPA cutoffs. But my experience has been that most of these people don't really care so much about your GPA as long as it's above a considerable amount number. So during, as I said, during my undergrad, I focused mainly on both research and practical and product development. I explored both industrial roles as well as academia research. And once I did that, I realized that you know academic research was the role that suited me, and I was really passionate about theoretical research. So uh, my first some major what do you say leap of that the decisions happened during my second year when I did an internship at what was called as Microsoft Innovation Lab in 2019. Now it's called as the PES Innovation Lab, which is a club at PES. and that's where I did my first research oriented internship, which led to me publishing a research paper at a top conference in Singapore, and the paper being published in IEEE Explore and everything. So that was like the stepping stone for me to where I realized how passionate I was about research, especially in the domain of robotics. And then onwards, it was I did various projects under professors, like especially if you talk about the Triple E department, there are professors like Professor Venkatrangan MJ and Professor Sudarshan from computer science who are extremely oriented towards robotics. If I talk about that, and depending on your domain of interest, there will always be one or two professors who can help and guide you. So it's always I would say helpful to do projects under a specific professor, um, and like that is if you're into and then if you explore that research area of publishing a paper and publishing a research project, and you probably would get a head of the club, the aerial robotics and aero modeling club of PS called as Team Aeolus. I was the club head of the club for 2 years, and being the club head really, I would say, benefited me in terms of leadership qualities, communication skills, and also technical skills as well. So both soft skills and technical skills. And I also published a paper via the Team Aeolus as well. So again, my research got benefited there as well. So I guess the emphasis on um, participating in clubs as well as uh, doing projects under professors and doing summer internships is clearly seen through this. And once so for those who might be interested in joining IISc or IITs as a researcher, there are many ways to do so. Uh, the most common ways are with the way which I followed and which I've been successful is to cold email professors whose research interests will match yours. So I emailed, I think, 10 to 15 professors from various IITs and IISc and even triple ITs. Basically, the professors who I really felt whose research interests were matching with mine. And I cited like one or two of their papers, recently published research papers, and explained why I felt my research interests correlated with their research published work and what I liked about their work, and alongs and then maybe can they give me a research position in their lab. So cold emailing doesn't work a lot of times. It takes a lot of patience and a lot of number of tries, but fortunately it did work for me in the end, and I did get offers from Triple IT Hyderabad, IIT Madras, and IISc for a researcher role. The other common way is to use LinkedIn, because according to me, LinkedIn is a boon which uh, is can must be used a lot, especially for purpose of networking as well as for researcher roles. Because a lot of times IIScs and a few of the professors themselves of various IITs and IISc, they post updates on LinkedIn, and they provide job openings for researcher roles, which one can apply for directly. So that's another major way of applying for research positions. So my plans as of now is that I've finished my 7 to 8 months of my work at IISc, and I've applied to PhD programs in the US for fall 2022, and depending on the results, I will probably head to the US and continue and pursue my PhD eventually. So that is about me. So thank you everyone for the time.
Thank you so much, Srikrishna BR. It was really great listening to all your experiences. Next, I call upon Mikhail to share his experience.
Hi guys. I'm basically currently in my eighth semester, and I am yeah. So basically, I'm placed in Collins Aerospace. So I'm doing a supply chain internship as of now there, and like I'm working like so the internship is like started in Jan and looking to end in July. Then from there onwards, I'll be continuing with a job. um, so like I think a basic importance before getting into any company would be like a GPA range and something that you guys would like to know. So from personal reference, I would say like to apply or to even sit for the test, normally they ask for at max 7. 7 GPA is like where they like push. Most of them are fine with 6 GPA as long as there's no backlog. 7 also is like a normal kind of GPA that they ask for. Um, was able to maintain 8.25, and that was just to pass every cutoff. Nothing too important on your GPA, especially when it comes to your job placements. With respect to masters, it's a bit different that I'll get into a bit later. As for the job I actually got and what I wanted to do, so in my third year and currently fourth year, even my second year, I pursued a lot in power electronics. So it was mainly under Rex sir and Raghuman sir and CPK sir, as I think he must have taught most of you guys. So yeah, so under these professors mainly I did my electives, and I'm looking like I'm going to graduate with the specialization in power electronics. So I was all set for power electronics as my job, power electronics jobs, and then maybe a master's to do with power electronics. But I think things were different in placements than I initially expected. So what I found out later on was that um, power electronics is a very different field. It's like you need a little like a master's in power electronics. After that, jobs in power electronics become much easier. With a BTech, it's a little harder to get a power electronics job, and whatever job you get, you will need at least 2 years of experience, base experience in industry. So that's like a baseline. Whenever you enter the industry, you need 2 years of industrial experience before you actually start working on something you like. That is like just a criteria that runs throughout the industry. So what ended up happening was that I sat for con- consultancy jobs along with supply chain management. So supply chain because that was a bit of a personal interest along with masters. So Collins was, I think, one of the first that came for supply chain, and you don't really need to know that you love supply chain. You don't really need to know that okay, I have this innate interest for supply chain. And even in the placement test, it was nothing that specific. It was just general logical reasoning and a little bit of electrical questions, which were not hard at all. Like those electrical questions you are mainly deal with in your second year. So it getting in wasn't too hard. Now, as for internships that I had to do, um, in my second year, I didn't really do any internships after between my second and third year. So that time I think was like a peak COVID time and all. So I just come back home. But in third year, like that summer after third year, what happened was that was mainly the capstone time that we had to do our project. And I think that capstone project is a little underestimated in our department. I think that capstone project in the end is the main point in your CV. Whenever you go for any interview at any point, they tend to just pick out one main project that you are good at or that you'd like to talk about. Most likely, they give you an option to talk about it. So if you do that project well and you know it well, they're just going to ask you questions on what you on that project. If you know it well, you can answer well. The interview goes great, and you can just float just by like it's no hassle whatsoever. So I think that kind of capstone project forms a main part of it. Personally, I haven't done any summer internships. My only internship was in the last semester, in the seventh semester. What college has done and the way they've tried and structured it is that you're put in under major workload till the end of third year. After third year, the whole of fourth year you're basically free. You have 14 credits to complete in the entire year, which means only around uh, 4 to 5 courses or less. So with such a less load in the entire year, internships become much more easier to do, and that's where you get most of your internship uh, experience. As for clubs, I think clubs were more of an interest in my first year and second year, and in my first year, I think I joined the debate club. So that was just to because I like speaking, and it was more like a fun club to join. For electrical, because in I was in the power electronics domain, I didn't really know any, like there isn't any club exactly to join in your second year. You have like hybrid electric vehicles, which is always a nice club to join, but I think most of us join it in third year becomes like the pivotal point when you can join it. Even higher, like you all guys probably learned about machines. So higher is another point where you all can even join. It's really nice, good experience, and it takes a little commitment. Personally, I have never been like I didn't join those clubs. I prefer to take my club work a little light, but it helped like even the non-technical clubs. I feel like that's underestimated quite a lot. Those clubs actually help you build more of a character and more of a confidence than just the technical side of it. And I would say that maybe don't worry too much about your clubs. Just try and be in one club or two. Try and get yourself interacting with people, ability to talk, confidence, because those things come out in your interview more than just your technical knowledge. And obviously, if you are interested, in any technical part, there are a lot of clubs that actually help. Like with robotics, you have your Vega club that has HEV, all those kind of things. So there are technical clubs, but that comes from like your level of interest. Now, for when to start and how do you do placement prep? So that question is a little complex, I would say. What happens is, at least in our department, I think a certain amount of resentment starts to grow during the start of placements. So why I say that is purely because you'll see that when placements start, it's mainly CS. So the placement cell is built in that way that CS comes in first, where in the seventh semester you'll see a lot of CS companies come, maybe 4 or 3 a week, and because of that, in the first month I took it for granted. I just ignored PESU placements. That is a mail that you all will get a lot of. But yeah, I just ignored PESU placements in the start because I was like, okay, CS, I don't have anything to do with CS, I want to run away from CS. I did that, and 1 month in, I realized, okay, maybe I should look into some of these companies. I actually opened placements 1 month late. And after I opened these placements, I saw that it was not just CS. Like for people that like embedded, a lot of these companies that come for CS do take a lot of EC and EEE kids that enjoy embedded. A lot of them come for embedded roles, and a lot of these companies don't even need technical knowledge. They come for consulting roles, they come for supply chain roles, they come for roles that are not fully CS oriented, even though like we think that the whole 7 semester is CS oriented. So I'm just telling you that I feel like it will get hard. Whatever happens, like you'll see a lot of your CS friends just doing well and getting like 12 to 22 LPA packages, and you're happy for them. But then you start worrying about yourself. And what I would say to that is maybe you should try and focus on draining the noise out. Um, Focus on like try and set these kind of goals. Like maybe, okay, I'm okay with a consulting company, I'm okay with a company in embedded, and I'm okay with any other company that doesn't need software development. Suppose those are your criteria. Or even if they're companies that require software development, have those kind of goals before placement start. So ideally before your third year starts, and sorry, fourth year, yeah, before your fourth year starts. And when those companies try to come in, keep an open mind towards them. With respect to preparations for electrical, it's just the basic second year topics. You don't have anything complex. You have your basic second year topics, which normally you would say the first 3 units are the most important in every topic. Like when it comes to your circuit theory, when it comes to network analysis, all those topics, you have your first 3 units which become your most important parts, and obviously logical reasoning. As long as you got those two down, you're good. With respect to my side of postgrad, right? I personally did not prepare for postgrad when I was doing placements. I focused on placements, and most of you will get placed by seventh semester. Certain most like the kind of core companies come in the eighth semester, and it's totally fine if you wait for the eighth semester. Don't get peer pressured into just sitting for all the placements just because you're scared you're not placed. There's no such thing. You have two place, like basically you're allowed two companies from the placement unit. So maybe try and get one backup, whether that's a tier 3, tier 2. If that's a tier 1, that's amazing. But yeah, try and get one backup. And if you're waiting for electrical companies to come in the eighth semester, which they do, um, relax about it. Just take the one backup and keep the other one company for the electrical companies that come in the eighth semester. For me, I got placed in the seventh semester. So after that, I was happy with the placement. And now, when the eighth semester started for me, I started my postgrad plan. So I was thinking, like, now I'm just thinking whether I should start studying for GRE and start thinking about all of those things. And now I'm starting to plan because I have time. Um, Yes, that's the main idea of it. When it comes to whether I should go study for postgrad and do placements and do an internship, I don't think you should take too much at your plate. Maybe try and do two things at once, an internship and postgrad or an internship and placements. Try and handle two things at a time. When one gets over, you can look at the next. Yeah, that's my basic kind of advice. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mikhail. Next, I would ask Suraj to take up.
Hi guys. I hope you all are doing well and keeping safe during this pandemic. I'm Suraj Patel. I'm currently pursuing seventh semester, eighth semester in Electrical and Electronics University at BS. I'm pursuing an internship at Samsung Electronics as a software assistant, and I also have a BBA offer from Wipro as a VLSI design engineer. Okay, starting with the basic requirements such as the GPA, that will help you like go ahead with the placements. To be very honest, a GPA is only like a benchmark. After that, I think everyone's the same. So no matter if your friends have GPA above 9, if they have a perfect and on 10, they're just the same by the company. Like regardless on how high they are, regardless even though you have a lot of technical skills, but you're not the person who can sit and write an exam and get grades. That's nothing to worry about. Sure, you'll all be based on the same skill and the same criteria. So as long as you have maintain a good grade point average of around 7.5, that's well and good. But there are very few companies, especially if you're looking for a software background, like CS-based companies, that will ask for like high CG cutoffs such as 8.5 and 9. That's very rare. That's very rare cases. So it's hardly like 2 to 3% of the companies that come into our college. So as I mentioned, I'm doing a software role at Samsung Electronics right now. So being an electrical background, I never thought I'd be here
Hi,
right
Suraj.
now.
Just can you give me 1 minute? We're just having a little bit of technical issues. Just give me 1 minute and
All
we'll
right.
come back. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Take it time.
ఎవరు మంజు అంటే ఏదో పేరు అనింది, రిచి లాగానే అనింది. నేనన్నా ఈ జెరుషా ఉంటాయి కదా, నెల్లూరు జెరుషా వాళ్ళు ఉన్నారు కదా, వాళ్ళేమోనేమో అంటారులేమో అనుకున్నా. పేరు గుర్తు రావట్లేదు సరిగ్గా అనింది. ఓకే రిచి అనుకుంటానైతే, రిచి వాళ్ళ ఇంటికి పోయేసినట్టున్నారు పాపం వస్తే, అప్పుడు వీళ్ళకి అటాక్ అయినట్టుంది. పోలేదా? మరి ఎవరికో పాప పుడితే ఇవన్నీ మెర్సీ ఎప్పుడు ఈడే ఉంటుంది, రీసెంట్గా ఉంది, ఎప్పుడు ఈడే ఉంటుంది మెర్సీ. గృహప్రవేశం అంతా అయింది. కాదు కాదు, రిచి దగ్గర పోయించినట్టున్నారు కిరణ్, పాప పుట్టిందని కూడా చెప్పింది. ఓకే ఓకే.
Hello, mic test.
పాప
One,
పుట్టిందని
two,
కూడా,
three.
అందుకే కదా మరి ప్రసన్న పెట్టింది రిచి కూతురు క్లియోనా అని. నిన్న మెసేజ్లో చూసినవా?
Can you hear me? Hello?
ఏమో
Yeah,
మరి.
Suraj, we'll get back to you. Just give me one
Okay.
minute. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, no.
అప్పుడు అనిపించింది నాకు మేబీ పోయి వచ్చారు వీళ్ళిద్దరు మెరిసి ఇంట్లో ఉన్నారు అని. ఓహో అనుకున్నాను నేను.
Okay, then. Yeah.
మళ్ళీ ఇప్పుడు బాగా లేదు, అంత బ్యాక్ టు నార్మల్. మొన్న ఫోన్ చేసినప్పుడు
Let's get back. Suraj,
యాక్సిడెంట్
yeah,
అయ్యి
please go ahead.
ఉద్యోగానికి దిగుతున్నారు అని చెప్తా ఉంది అసలు. పోవాలనుకుంటున్నాను.
Suraj, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. So yeah, as I was saying, being from an electrical background, I never thought I'll be pursuing an internship in the software sector. I think that's one of the rarest advantages we electrical kids have. Like we can always take up like the software courses or like the CS-based courses as our minors or as our electives when we want. But I'm sure the CS kids, it's like for hard for them to study our subjects as minors because it needs a lot of understanding. It also needs a lot of technical knowledge to basically, go through about our subject. Uh, it's something that I'm enjoying as of now. It's always a new challenge, so I'm just working on it and just giving my best shot at it. And coming to summer internships, I did not do any technical summer internships per se, but I did do a few internships in the field of digital marketing. It did help me quite a lot. Like I could relate and to different people in the to different people in my life or different people, different of us, many of my friends, and also gave me more opportunities. Like to explore. Uh, so yeah, so the projects. So according to me, the projects play quite an important role, especially in your final year or in the third year. Actually, the capstone project is quite neglected in our college, especially in our department. Firstly, they mainly help you like how to improve your skills. They teach you what weaknesses, your strength, what you're good at, what you're bad at, what you can improve, and you'll get a clear picture of what you're capable of doing and what 3 years of engineering has taught you and what you can build on your own and how you can call yourself an engineer or making something work or making a robotic arm move. It's a part of course life. It's always fun to be up in the project, and at the same time, it's a very important learning opportunity as well. Uh, like during the project, we'll get a clear picture of what you want to do, especially for the ones who want to do masters. I myself had a big confusion like during my electives. I've taken a few electives in the stream of embedded systems. I've taken a few electives in the stream of smart power. So it gave me a clear picture like, oh yeah, embedded systems is better than this. Probably this has more scope. Probably there's something that I can do, that I can get better at. So yeah, so projects help you a lot in this aspect. And as Mikhail mentioned, many of the core companies, many companies just stick on to your core final semester project or what do you call it, the capstone project, and ask your questions and judge your skills based on that. Make sure whatever your that project is, make sure you know each and every inch of it. It's always it's always better to do that. Uh, Coming to the clubs, personally, I think clubs can have a great level of impact on your personal development, on your character. They give you a chance to interact with a wide variety of people and learn a lot. I have been a part of the core committee for various events. I've also been a part of the cultural club called the NADA. I've also been in the core committee of the core organizing committee of the many events like Padmapriya, or let it be in the NADA's events, or even the amateur scientist, and many more. This has helped me a lot in developing people skills and communicating skills and leadership skills. Something that the companies are quite looking forward to find new. So they do ask you like, in what events are you a part of, and it also gave me an opportunity to expand my contact, expand my circle, also get in touch with my seniors, my juniors, my sub juniors, or my sub seniors. So it helped me a lot when I was when I was in your place. I also used to go back to my seniors and ask them like how this happened. So I got all these contacts from through the clubs, like through various parts of the clubs. Uh, okay, so when did I start preparing for placements? Quite frankly, I started preparing and studying for placements a lot later than many others. Like I even remember missing out an opportunity at a company because I just missed out wrestling for the company for the second time. Next day morning, when I meet my friends, and they're all very excited about the fact that we finished our test. It was very easy. It went well. Probably we're gonna get our jobs there, and it was one of the very big core companies that came into our college at that point of time. So yeah, so it's very important to keep a track of all your mails, and it's very important to just know what you're doing, and it's always better to be organized, always better to be planned on what you want to do. Coming to the preparations itself, it's basically you can start by revising all your second year subjects, basically core subjects. It's like ECT or analog circuits or digital electronics. And like if you're interested in software jobs, so speaking of software jobs, like you can also brush up your coding skills. You can take up different courses in the summer, or you can also do like a minor in our college, which our college provide in the summer. So yeah, that's pretty much it about placement preparation. Preparing for post grad has always been on my list, but I've not been doing anything right now. I've not done anything technical per se with respect to post graduation. I've just taken up the IELTS exam and just let it be there. So it's a comma as of now. So let's see where that goes. Uh, so that's it from my side. Thank you.
Thank you, Suraj. That was really great. Next, I call upon Pooja to speak.
Uh, Hello everyone, I'm Pooja. So, like to tell about myself, I was in the other campus the first year. I was in the EC campus, so it was a huge shift for me to the RR campus. And some people wonder why I did it. I was in EC department in EC campus basically. So here I came into Triple E, and it's been a long journey, but the main thing I did it is because my house was way near here, which helped me in my final years. So the first, when we come to the point of CGPA, first even I didn't concentrate much on that. Even I hung out with my friends and I used to hardly study, but then I gradually picked it up. Right now I stand at around 9.3. So the main reason CGPA might be important is two reasons. One is the master's point of view, which I'll come a bit later, and then the second point is your actual placements. Yes, some people say the cutoff is 6 and 7, but sometimes they have another cutoff internally where they shortlist people with a higher CGPA. You'll never know what's happening because I've seen many people apply for a job and still not get the test link because they have been shortlisted from the shortlisted people basically. So that is where it may come into picture. But there's this one company that I noticed where it's a pretty big company. I would not like to name it, where even though they based on the CGPA, the CTC was decided. So above 9, it was 40 lakhs per annum. Below 9, it was 20 lakhs per annum. So that was one of the criteria that I saw. I think that was the only company which did that. So right now I'm working, like I got an internship as an project trainee at Bosch. But during my HR interview, they told me I'm going to be working as an embedded engineer. So the role is yet to be decided by the company based on their needs. So when it comes to CGPA, that's what it is. And whether do I like my job or not, I do, because in like right now we have a platform where we're discussing about the placements. But when I started my journey, like I didn't know much. We didn't have such good platforms to share. So there was this one time where I was in a lift and I just met my one of my seniors, and I just asked him where he got placed and how. He told he got into Bosch. So that was the day I decided that I needed to get into it, and luckily I did. So that's one of the good things. So as he said that coding wasn't very important for his placements, I agree with that. It again depends on the role you're going for, and even during the interviews they kind of ask you what you're interested in and then ask you questions on that. But it's always good to know some basic of coding. You don't have to know the complicated stuff. That's left to the CS people. So then, when it comes to the job I like, yes, I do like it. So let's see how it goes. So I have done a few internships. The first internship I did was on web designing in a company called Terramika, which was like a 3 month course in December, so I couldn't take it up for credits. But then I kind of missed out on having an internship with an actual company because everything was CS based and it was kind of hard to crack since I haven't prepared for any coding in such. So I decided to work under Venkat Rangan sir on an amazing project. That's where my interest in embedded system grew. So that's what I did for my internship. Right now, Bosch is offering us an internship, so that's where I'll be doing the next semester. When it comes to projects and hackathons, I have done a few hackathons. Like at the start of the year, like especially the academic year in 2018, I thought I would take part in one hackathon per year so that I have a habit of putting an idea into play. But that did work out till I think the third year, and then the lockdown started, so that wasn't much of a thing. So yeah, you should take part in hackathons because you'll get to know how to work with people for a longer period of times. Because it's like a 24 hours. So it's like morning maybe you'll have full of energy and you go into it thinking you can do, but as the day goes on you get to know what it is. So that's how most of the companies will be. At least here you can get to choose your teammates. There you won't. So the clubs, unfortunately, since I came here in the second year, the clubs were almost filled up. People had already decided which clubs they were in, and so I gave. I was really interested in maths for a long time, so I found this amazing club called a Skew Forest. I'm not sure if it's still running now. It was started by our batch members. So that was one thing I was a part of. It gave me a very beautiful insight into the quantum world, which is pretty amazing if you think about it, but very difficult too. And I was in mainly the research part of it. People were involved in the mathematical part too. And the next club I was in was the IEEE RAS. I worked under an amazing project where this all of this project is what led me to believe that I wanted embedded system. So that's where the projects come into main play. Like others said, yes, it does matter in your interviews about your project, but your projects will tell you what you're really interested in. Like in when I gave my interview, the person who asked was really, even though it was a HR interview, they still asked me about my project, and the fact that I explained it from the start to the end, he was kind of impressed that I've done a few work on my project. So that's one thing. And like how did I start preparing for the placements? Since I was looking for a core job, I kind of had an idea about what the company would ask in general. So if you could google it about how the company will ask questions or based on what, it's more than enough. Just go through the basics of what they're going to ask. It will help you during the test and the interviews, because interviews are usually like 2 days after the test, so it won't be like a huge gap in between. And I did join a GRE class where I wanted to write go to masters in Australia or America, but due to the current situation, I'm not going to pursue that. Maybe a few years down the lane, I would. And yeah, that's about it. Thank you.
ఆ రోజు నుంచి నాకు ఎందుకో వీక్నెస్ ఉంది అన్నీ పడిపోయింది అంటే ఆ, ఆ ఫీలింగ్ మాత్రలు వేసుకొని ఉంటారు కదా వీళ్ళు
So, yeah, thank you, Pooja.
అసలు
That was
మర్చిపోతారు
great. And next, I would ask Pranav to speak about
డోలో
this.
వేసుకున్నాం అంతే ఇంకా నెక్స్ట్ డే నుంచి అన్ని అవసరం లేదులే కావాలనుకుంటే డోలో వేసుకుందామని అంటే ఇప్పుడు
Hi guys, this is Pranav. I have a job at IQVIA as a data analyst. So today I'll just be addressing some concerns that you guys might have, I guess. So uh, I did an internship, a long-term internship at Pincor from the past, say, 6, 7 months. I've been working as a systems engineer, designing certain schematics for your PCB boards, footprints, layouts, and such. And that forms a very base of what your embedded systems is. Making a board. So I've been working there for the past 6 months, and yeah. So basically, don't worry a lot, because what happened with me personally was not only me, a lot of us. What happens is, we tend to worry a lot. Oh, where am I going to go? Where am I going to sit? Is this enough? Oh, my friend has done 5 online courses, I've done only one. Is that going to be enough? A lot of questions definitely do arise. But staying cool, staying calm is something you guys definitely should do. And my placement experience was very weird. I'll tell you about it. So placements for us started around, say, September of 2021. That was last year. And I got placed in January. So those 3 months were very tedious. They were very difficult to sit through, because all my friends are getting placed. Everyone is saying, hey, I got placed in Bosch, I got placed in Schneider. I'm like, yes, okay, nice. I'm still trying, I'm still trying. So yes, definitely, as a no as a human being, it's very normal to feel panicked, because you don't know what is going wrong. You're doing well, everything is going fine, but you're still confused, right? So it's absolutely normal that things don't happen for a couple of time. You guys don't have to break your heads at all. Have confidence in have confidence in yourself. Believe yourself, right? Don't lose hope in such a way that you start thinking, oh, is something wrong with me? Am I doing something wrong? No. So, sometimes things just have to run their natural course before you get your final destiny, or whatever that is. And coming to things what you can do before in college, or what you should be doing in college. First of all, you should definitely have fun in college. Should enjoy with your friends, participate in all the activities. There are lots of clubs you can be involved in our college. We are actually very lucky enough to be studying in a college which provides us so many opportunities. It gives us I know you're thinking, oh, what is he saying? It gives us a lot of opportunity, yes, compared to when I've seen my friends in other colleges who don't even have such an opportunity. They have hardly a few clubs, few activities they can take part in, but no, not the case in our college. So take part in hackathons. It does not matter if you're going to contribute very much, but it will make a difference in your learning. So I participated in a hackathon called Hack Triple E, which was there in third semester. So it's not that we made a groundbreaking product or something as that. It's just the learning experience which we had. Everything should be about having that learning experience. So I got hands-on experience working with Arduino and certain sensors and everything, and that is what is most important. So when someone asks someone asks you a question regarding that, you should be in a position to give a proper answer, even though whatever question he may ask, you should not be in a sticky position, definitely. So, and one more thing is, you need to find what you like the most. You need to find what area you want to be working in, what area, what is your field of interest, is something you should be very clear about. You may deviate from it for for certain amount of time when it's not suiting, but you should definitely find something. And the only way to find what you love is to actually work with it. So you may think that, oh, I like embedded systems. How do you know, do you actually like it or not? So work with it, do projects, do internships, go out there, find work yourself, find internships yourself. Don't wait up for college at all. You never know where you may actually find your passion. You never know where you actually start enjoying certain things. Even the internship I'm working with the embedded system as a systems engineer. I thought, okay, everyone's saying embedded systems. What is it exactly, right? I want to explore more before I completely dive into it, because it will be something I will be basing my entire future career on, right? So you should definitely find some work, something is, it doesn't matter. It can be in college, it can be out of college, doesn't matter. You just have to work with it, so that you know you so that you can find out if you actually like it or don't like it. And there are lots of functions like Atma Trisha and everything. Get involved in those, have fun with friends, because after after this after the 3-4 years in college, you're definitely not going to get something like this, and we were unfortunately the unlucky batch which missed a lot of college, thanks to COVID. So I think we understand the value of how much we missed college. So have fun in college, but find something that you like and pursue it till it doesn't matter if you want to work with power electronics. There are lots of things you can lots of clubs which you can get involved in our college. You like embedded systems, you can do that. You like all the power analysis, all those that field. There are lots of companies which do that. There is college projects which are working, which you can get involved with. So find something you like and pursue it. Maybe you won't like it later, so but you are in a very safe
But
place because you're
please,
still in college.
Maggie, save it, please.
Once you get to the precipice of almost exiting college, you're stuck. You don't have an option now. So even for me, the job which I've got placed in college is a data analyst. It's totally different from embedded systems, but it's fine. It's something different, and it's something which I've got through placement, right? So it's a guaranteed job. After a certain point of time, you'll think, okay, it's something which is sturdy, something which I should be looking at. uh, so yeah, but definitely I will be pursuing in embedded systems later.
Avuna.
Data analysis and everything, it will help with programming and coding. So you should look at how these things will impact in your learning. And yeah, Cgpa and everything. Yeah, see, I don't have a very high Cgpa. Okay, lots of my friends who are there in this meeting also have very high Cgpas. So it's not that only they got a job and I didn't get a job. No, definitely not like that. You will get a job. uh, don't break your head too much about it. Not everyone's going to be applying for all the jobs, right? So there will be definitely places where you will get in. And interviews, definitely you should be bold, be dynamic, tell exactly what you want, what you're working with. And see, in interviews, if you actually have done some internships and research or work with something, you actually have something to talk about, right? Yeah, it's not only academic. So he will not only ask you, oh, tell me what Ohm's law is, or tell me what Thevenin's theorem is, or something like that. So you will have talking points, right? So doing all these internships and everything is, it'll give you a talking point in the interview. That is what
లేదు ఒక్కటే
basically it
వెయ్యి.
is. So people ask, doing any online
నీకు
course, is
వద్దా?
it helpful, actually helpful? it gives you a talking point when they're actually in the interview, right? So it gives you a talking point of,
నాకేం
oh
కాలేదే.
yes, I did that, what did you learn, I learned this, you can discuss about that topic. Those are what interviews basically are, most of them. And finally, I would like to say that, learn coding. Coding is something that will definitely, the computer has become programmable. Sorry, the whole world has become programmable now. So definitely that is something you should definitely know. Be comfortable with coding. Because even most electrical companies, core companies which came, they asked coding questions. I was a little unhappy that, oh, why are they asking? We're electrical engineers. We're not that we're not that good with coding and all. That's some excuse that will not fly at all. So be comfortable with coding. Know at least the very basics, and keep practicing it. And when is the best time to start? Is right now. If you have not already started, the best time is right now. So yeah, thank you very much for the time.
Thank you, Pranav. And next, I would like to call Padma Priya to share her experience.
Hi guys, so I'm Padma Priya and currently I'm in my 8th semester right now. So basically about me, I have been placed at Robert Bosch and currently I have just started my internship also there. And yeah, so I also had an offer from Deloitte and Mu Sigma, but I chose Bosch. Okay, so coming to the first thing, if GPA is important for placements, I would say yes, it is important, but not to a very high extent. It is just like the entry, which lets you write the tests in the placements. So, a decent GPA around or above 7 or 8, that is more than enough to write most of the company's tests. Uh, Mine, I try to keep it fine, and yeah, I was able to write most of the company's tests. And summer internships, I haven't really done any summer internships. My first internship was in my 7th semester, where we had to do an internship for credits. So that time I interned at the Center for Robotic Automation and Intelligent Systems in our college itself under a professor from the EC department. So it was basically just a project which we were starting from scratch. So yeah, it took some time to develop all the ideas and get going with it. But yeah, it was a pretty good experience. So it was basically based on robotics. So it gave me a nice, I always wanted to try that domain also. So it gave me a nice experience as to how all I can go about, creating stuff in the robotics domain and if I want to take it up in the future. So yeah. And projects, about projects. So the projects that I have done mostly are the projects that were, that they made us do as a part of the courses itself. So those are the projects that are there in my resume, all those mini projects and all those extra assignment projects that you get to do in your courses. Try to do them as, with a lot of heart. Just try to do something unique so that you have something that can be mentioned in your resume also. So yeah, that is what I did. And also the capstone project, that was one of the most important projects that I have done. And it is very important to concentrate on your capstone project because that is a project which most of the companies, when it comes to interviews, they mostly start with your capstone project and try to dig deep into what you have done and all the details and stuff. So it is better that you have an
నేను
idea
మ్యాగీ
of
తినేస్తా.
what all you have done in your capstone project, uh, to the very base level, and know what you have done. Or even if you haven't done anything, just know how it works and be able to justify when the interviewer asks you. Yeah, and clubs and all. I was not a very enthusiastic participant in the clubs since the first year. I thought I would join in the second year, but because of COVID, and it kind of got. I mean, I couldn't join any of the clubs, and so yeah, if you want to join the clubs, yes, it is a good place to get to interact with a lot of people. The work you do in the club is also important, but you meet a lot of people, you get many inputs from others, and that is a major takeaway that you can get from the clubs. So yes, it is good to be a part of a few of the clubs at least. See where your interest lies, and you can try to join a few clubs of your interest in the college. How did I start my prep for placements? When and how? Well, I would say I didn't really prepare as such for the placements, but it's basically just a revision of all the topics that you've covered in your second and third year, technically speaking. So just concentrate on the fundamental subjects like digital electronics, analog electronics, and yeah, that's about it. Just concentrate on the fundamentals, and you can get through the tests that the companies conduct, and be thorough with your concepts for the interviews. And yeah, that's about it. And when you sit for a company, also remember that if you know a little about where the company, around what field the company works around in, so that if in case in the interview they ask you something related to what you want to work in or why you want to work in our company, you have a valid reason to present there. So yeah, that's another point. Did I prepare for any post grad entrance alongside? Well, as of now, nothing. I don't have any plans to pursue post grad right now, but down the lane I will. Uh, I I haven't really thought much about it. So placements was my first, what do you say, aim here, concentration here. So that's it. And yeah, so that is about me. And a general thing that I would like to say about the placements is that please be informed about, how the placement things work, what the rules or something are. Because in my case, what happened was initially when all the companies started to come, there is this fear that what if you don't get placed by the end of it. Obviously everyone has that moment. And so what happened was I kind of applied to a lot of companies. uh, I just wanted to try at least, to see how the tests are, how the interviews are, to at least attend the interviews. And so I attended a lot of tests, and I received an offer from Bosch and also Deloitte. Uh, but the thing is that you can receive only two offers, no matter whether you accept it or reject it. You can only receive two offers. So that was the case in our batch's placements. So please be informed about how the placement thing works. You can go contact the placement office also anytime. They will also help you out, or your seniors or your teachers. They will definitely help you out. And yeah, I think that's about it. Thank you for the time.
Thank you, Padma Priya. Next, Sanjana will be continuing with the next part.
Okay. So that was really, really great, and it was really informative. So I'd really like to thank the panelists once again for taking the time and effort to join us and answering all the questions which we're going to be asking ahead. I hope you've all had a good time till now. So now the comment section is going to be open. So if you guys have any questions for the panelists, please feel free to post it in the chat, and we'll try to cover as many as we can. So one thing we would like to mention is that the following questions that we're going to be asking the panelists, their answers are going to be drawing from their own experience, and they'll try their best to explain accurately as possible to their knowledge and understanding of their various knowledge on various fields. So yeah, let's begin. So the first question would be going to Mikhail. Um, what was your exact placement experience like when it came to the procedures for different companies? So what is your exact opinion on that?
Yeah, so I think it varies from company to company. So if you look at mainly CS companies and yeah, if you take CS companies for example, like their main procedure would be like they'd have a logical round or like a maybe a kind of technical round, and at the end they'll have like two coding questions. So more or less like you'd have to be the coding questions are not hard, they're mostly around C itself, so they're not very hard, but like you definitely have to be prepared when it comes to those kind of things. So with respect to placements and the companies are going for, I feel like Padma Priya also did a good job touching upon this. She's like basically you have to know what you're exactly applying for, right? So if you know you're going for a CS company, you kind of have the right mindset towards it. You expect a few logical questions and then a few coding questions. Now, if you're going for, say, a consulting role, you won't see as much coding, which if you aren't so strong in coding, that's like an advantage, something you're more comfortable with. And you'd see more logical kind of reasoning questions, psychometric tests, all those kind of things, which you just need like a logical ability. You can always practice these kind of things. There are a lot of books online, a lot of resources. These are normal logical questions you get in all aptitude tests that you see.
Mm,
So that's a basic format of prepare.
late.
If you have to think about proper electrical jobs, right? Proper electrical jobs, you would come across subjects that were not really in the third year, but more in the second year. I think all the panelists kind of mentioned these subjects. Like you have your ECT, analog, digital, sometimes signals and systems, and even in all these subjects, right? I wouldn't say like you need to focus very deeply on them. What I would say was maybe the first 3 units. That's where the basic set of questions come. Always, if you are used to the semesters by now, what you'd see in the first 3 units, first two are very basic, so ISA one goes well. Then third and fourth are a little more into the subject, so IC2 maybe not so much. And the fifth unit nobody ever really touches till like end of ESA, right? So that's a normal format. So now if you're looking at it, your first 3 units is where the questions really come from. And like that's a bit of a generalization, but it's still widely accurate. And as it comes for personalized experience through placements, what happened was again, I think I mentioned this earlier, and even I think Suraj went through a similar kind of thing that we missed the first company that came in. So the company in specific was Bosch that came in, and after Bosch came in, we missed that. We didn't answer the test, and I think almost half the department was placed at that point because Bosch just like it took in like a lot of students that and a lot of students were really excited for the first placement. A lot of them did well and it was really great. But yeah, it felt left out. And those like I think those times are always harder times. The next company that came in was like an ideal company like Lamb Research, which was offering one of the highest packages. So by that time, there was about you'd say 3 weeks gap between them. So now I was at this point I learned my first lesson, that is um, pay attention to placement mails. The next came as I went for the LAMP test, and what I did was I thought I would answer logical first because I was not confident in my own electrical knowledge. Turns out I didn't do well in the test purely because logical was harder and the electrical portion was easier. And that's something I didn't realize because I hadn't answered enough placement tests. So a piece of advice would be, even if you don't like say it's a CS company and you want to sit only for consulting, that's fine. Sit for the CS company placement too, sit for the test, and just see how the logical is, because each of them have their own logical, each of them have some of them have psychometric tests. you need to get a feel for it. Whatever it is, you need to get rid of the first test anxiety, the second test, so not everyone's just good in answering testing. Maybe a lot of people are smart, but just not good in tests. That happens a lot. So I would say just try and put yourself in these pressured situations where your life doesn't depend on it, which means they're not electrical companies. You're fine to fail. And one thing that has to be clear is college doesn't ban you or blacklist you if you apply for a company and don't sit for the test. They never do that. I think that was a fear that a lot of us had, so we were not sure whether to apply or not apply. A lot of confusion with that. They don't. If you apply and you don't answer the test, it's fine. If you answer the test, you get bad marks, that's fine. Nobody cares. If you answer the test, get through, again, that's just an experience. That's great because now you made your first interview round. If you get through the interview round, you have an HR round. If you get through your HR round, then you have your first offer letter. And then it becomes official. Your first offer has been taken up. So till that, I think it's just an experience curve. And I would say try and go for, even if you don't want the job, I would say just go for the company and try and get a little experience on it. You know, and suppose you have now assume that you've reached, like, say, the interview round, and you don't really like the company. You're scared that you might actually get the offer because that's a reasonable fear. As crazy as it sounds, you've gone all the way and now you don't want the company, right? Don't attend the test. Don't attend the HR round. It's fine. You will get disqualified, but you won't get blacklisted. So I think this concept of blacklisting is something that most students develop a fear for in the placement cells. So don't get scared about anything. Just try your best. That's a major thing. So I lost out for LAM on that basis. And then Schneider came along. Schneider was the third company. That was a hard test in general. And then finally came along Collins, which I was finally prepared for because I'd gone through three tests, failed in three different ways, and I was not ready to fail in the fourth. So it worked out. I got through the technical round, and after the technical round, I think the most important, like, that's the hardest one. Like, that's the first barrier. The rest is just talking. You find a way to connect, like, for every interview. Don't worry about it. Find a way, find a common ground. Like, I have friends that purely got the job because they lived next to the interviewer. Like, it's unbelievable, but yeah, common ground. It's like, oh, you live here. Oh, I also live here. They literally talked about where they lived, and that was the technical round. It's an ability to gel well with people. That's what the interview round is based on. Gel well with people and your ability to talk on what you have done. So get past the technical round and just do a kind of interaction practice. That's what interviews are basically. So I think that being a major part of the importance of technical round subjects, that all these things are covered. If you have more questions, feel free to ask. And I think Suraj will answer what, like, his views on this. Thank you.
So yeah, thank you, Mikhail. So I would like to start by explaining the placement process for you guys. So basically, the companies that come to our college are bifurcated based on two criteria, especially the companies based on the job they offer, a technical or a non-technical profile, or also the package they offer. That is tier one, tier two, and tier three. So these three tiers are basically based on the package or the amount of money they offer for your services or for your knowledge. So companies offering less than 5 LPA lakhs per annum are classified as tier three, and 5 to 9 or 10, if I'm not wrong, that's classified as tier 2, and from 10 and above they're classified as tier 1 companies. And these tier 1 companies can be technical or non-technical. So basically technical are the companies which give you a job in your own domain. Like we're all electrical, so our whole electrical domain including embedded systems of power electronics or any specific domains. And the non-technical mainly may include analysts or even consultancies, or even for us it can even include a CS job. So I think it's very important for you guys to just get a picture of what the job profile is. Like do some research about it. like read like Google job profile, Google about the company, or get in touch with the seniors or ones who know like have been placed at that particular the company or one who's doing a particular job. I'm sure your parents, your cousins, your relatives, some will have someone or the other, who have some experience in this corporate world. So I would suggest you to do that. And what we can do with our placements is we can maximum have two offers where we can reject one and accept one. And like it's very rare you can have offers in the same tire. Like if you get in case you get a job, you land a job in tier 2, you're not qualified to sit for a job in tier 3. You only qualified to sit for a job in tier 2 and above. That's tier 2 and tier 1. So it's nothing to worry about. Many of the core companies that come to our college, except one tier 2, that they offer a compensation between 5 to 10 lakhs. That's the total CDC. So it's nothing to worry about. So just guys, just tread wisely, like before you apply to a company, like think about it, like this is what I want to do, and just don't get into peer pressure. I know you guys have a lot of CS friends, and I was also there. Like many of my friends used to come home saying, "I got this package, I got that package," and I was, stuck with nothing. So it's fine, guys. Take your time. It'll take time. I'm sure all of you will be placed by the end of the day. And coming to the procedures for different companies, basically, it will start from day one by the placement side. They'll just send you a mail regarding the company, the job profile, the location, or do they have a bond, do they don't have a bond, or basically it'll be a Google Drive link. We're supposed to register, you fill out your details, you'll have to fill in your resume, you'll have to fill in your grade point averages, you gotta fill in your second PU marks and 10th
డబ్బులు
standard
ఎందుకు
marks,
తక్కువ
and
అంటారు
that's
నువ్వు
all the whole
డబ్బులతో
thing.
మాట్లాడుతున్నావు
After that, the companies will shortlist you, basically based on the
అమ్మో
cutoffs that they have set
ఎంత
for themselves
బాగుంది మా
for the
గమ్మున
company or
ఉండు
for the role they're offering. After the cutoffs,
వద్దు
basically
వద్దు
in one day you'll
చాలు
have your technical skills cut test. Don't worry about it. It won't clash between your class
పెట్టు
timings and internship timings. So basically, it'll. I think the longest technical test I've written was for like 3 hours.
అవును
I think it was for L&T if I'm not wrong. So
మ్మ్.
yeah, it won't take three
వద్దు
hours. So make sure to give your best in that. So it's basically a skills of all your basic knowledge, like all your third year, like as Mikhail mentioned, Padmapriya mentioned before this, like ECT, analog and power electronics and digital systems. So that's the main major topics. So after technical interview ka round, you'll have like very few companies have another technical round. That's only when there are a lot of people and when they want to shortlist you guys. After that, you'll have an HR round. HR round is just a formal round of getting to know you, your family, what are your hobbies, what are your capable of, or how you interact, and what are your different skills and different extracurriculars. So you just got to be confident over there and just be who you are over there. So there's nothing to worry about HR round. After that, it's the D-Day where you get a mail from college from Peso Placement saying that you got placed in this particular company for so and so role. Like you get a list of students. So yeah, so this is the complete procedure from the beginning to the end. And speaking of the core companies that came to our college this year, I think Bosch was the first one, as Mikhail mentioned. Then Schneider 2 came. Then Samsung Electronics came. It is not exactly a core job, but it was between ECE and Triple E. So yeah, and Saradian also did come, and Microchip also I think it came. We're not really sure of how many more companies are going to come. I'm pretty sure at least like two or three more will come in the eighth semester. So let's hope for the best. Uh, so yeah, apart from the placement office, it's actually, to be very honest, it's very hard to find a job outside placements because personally, when I went and searched for a few other job profiles at a company such as Apple or a company such as Microsoft, a company such as Google, they basically require like a job experience. So it's very hard for us students, like final year graduates, to show some work experience or show the level of competency. So I think it's better you stick on with the placements in case the worst comes to worst. Like if you don't find what you're interested in, see, there's always LinkedIn for the rescue, or even cold email all the HRs and all the managers different company. Like I've seen these days, like many of them, like get placed through LinkedIn. They get in touch with the companies, they get in touch with the HRs, they get in, get in touch with the managers. So they share their profile, they get interviews, and they completely that's completely that's a viable option. And worst comes to worst, the last option is you can always use a referral. Like if you have someone in your family, if you have someone in your relatives, like who are interested in this field, they can also always refer your job. So that's these are your concerns, guys. So that's the last thing you need to worry about. As of now, I think placements is the best option for you to choose and go to any company as of now. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Suraj. Pooja, yeah, can you tell us your experience and if there's something different that the other two haven't mentioned or something you want us to know in particular about the placement process? Hello? Am I audible?
Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah, we can
think
hear you.
Pooja is a little bit,
Okay, then.
so you can just tell me.
Okay, sure, no problem. So let's move on then. So next question goes to Mikhail. What kind of projects, when we're talking about projects in general, when it comes to, in FES or in like general, how much does the difficulty level or the uniqueness of the project matter?
Yeah, I think it's very important when when it comes to a general level of projects or the projects that you're doing maybe in your second year, that won't matter too much. That's just like an experience. So in your second year, what I would advise would be like projects to learn things. Like even a lot of people that are in electrical maybe have never used an Arduino before, and that's totally fine. I think that that happens quite often. There's nothing to feel ashamed about, but I think if anytime, like I think second year is the best time to start. You don't have to worry about what happened because I started at the same time. I started in my second year, I started using Arduino and then slowly started moving up. As soon as you build a slight amount with one project itself, you get the confidence to move forward. These and in the second year, they don't have to be unique, they don't have to be out of the box, they can be as general as they come, but just understanding what you do. Now, the uniqueness and the wow factor that needs to appear only in your final year project. And those are the ones that really count. Those are the ones that do make a difference. Definitely, it does have a huge effect, and I do believe that. Um, what what really matters, I think, and what really brings about the best in any project is your interest in it. So if you don't just go for a project that's unique and you don't understand it, you'll have a hard time doing it, and you might not like it. Not liking it just pushes the product value down. I would advise to do a project that maybe it might not be that unique, but something that you love. Because in the end, all that matters is the way you talk about it more than anything. I think you can make something ordinary sound extraordinary just by showing how passionate you are when you were doing that project. And that's where the uniqueness comes in. Less about what you're actually doing, more about how you actually did it. And I think that's a very important point. um, with respect to what I did was power electronics. So it was a power electronics project. It was a massive project, and it was too much to handle. I think so. I think this is fair to say, but like so we did it under EXO. So by general reference, that was hard, and you had high expectations for it. And yeah, we had to meet up to those expectations. We had to work every day, and even though it was in a pandemic, we did work every day, online, offline. As much as we did, we pushed it. And I feel like that those projects were the only things that help you stand out in these interviews. So um, during my interview for Collins, what ended up happening was an EC graduate was interviewing me. So he read the title of the project and he understood it was a high power system, high power meaning high voltage and high current. So since he didn't know much about it, like just because I was talking about how many stuff, like how many components I was able to blow up and how many things actually caught on fire during the project, he was just amazed at that fact. The fact that I failed so miserably at such high voltages and still was, you know, I'm still happy to talk about it. So it doesn't have to be the biggest success story of your life. It just has to be something you love doing. And that's properly what I believe in. So when it comes to these projects, as long as don't worry too much about the uniqueness or anything like that, just worry more about how much you like it and try and do as many as possible. So I think a lot of people do overstress sometimes, but in the gaps from second year to third year, I think that's a nice time to try and pick up some project. It doesn't necessarily need to be a huge project. Maybe what worked for us a lot was we just approached a professor. That was hard for us, but we just did it. Like we just texted Rexo, and we were like, so actually we're looking to do some sort of project. We don't really know what. We just want to learn something that we haven't learned. And we actually said that to him, and he was like, okay, fine, do DC motors. He just gave us a topic, and then what we realized is the more he was telling us to do, the more he guided us for our next semester. And those like so what ended up happening is we learned control systems before control systems even started in class, purely because we were forced to, based on his expectations. So I would say a good way to do these projects is either find a teammate that is equally as interested in the same subjects or equally as interested to do a project, and talk to some professor. All the professors are great at doing projects, all of them. There is no exception to it. Even so, I'd like to name check actually a PhD student that helped me throughout this whole college life. So Raghuman sir, I don't know if I think he's taken a few labs of yours, AEC maybe or power electronics this semester, but he really guided me through my whole power electronics career, and that's what my point being, that even a PhD student in this college would help you do a project. There's no lack of projects ever in the college. It's just like the incentive to do it and the fear. I think you just have to like skip past the fear and just text the teacher, see what happens. The worst they'll do is know that the student wanted to do a project. It's literally the worst. And at some point they'll just remember you and like send you any project that they're working on. So I think it's just important to try and get your hands dirty with these kind of things and just try and work as much as possible in whatever time you have. Don't kill yourself about it. Maybe second year after the summer and second year would be a good time. In summer of third year, you'll already be working on your capstone. So two projects on your profile, more than enough. Don't worry more than that. Yeah, that's about it.
Don't mind, could I answer my question back because my internet was down for a few seconds?
Yeah, no issues. Go ahead, Pooja.
Okay, my
Yeah. So your
placement
question
journey
was,
was a roller
can you
coaster.
talk about the? No. Go ahead. Go ahead, Pooja.
So basically, my question was to talk about how my journey was through the placements. It was a roller coaster because your placement doesn't start when the companies come for full time. It even starts before that. Like you get converted into a full time offer. So that's one thing you have to keep in your mind because that's where the stress starts. Like personally, I couldn't get any internship through placements because it was more of a CS internships and I wasn't like as good as the other people. I wouldn't say I was bad at coding. Sometimes the coding is not just about you doing the code and it runs. It's more about its efficiency and its complexity. So that's one thing you have to keep in mind. So I did give a few tests. I used to, like this is one very un ethical way of going through placement is the first offer that you have. Since you can have two offers, The first one, apply for everything. I know this sounds crazy, but apply for everything, irrespective if it's a core or a non-core jobs like a CS jobs. Just apply for everything, because once you get one offer in your hand, you kind of have the confidence to go ahead. And that's one thing I would tell, because myself, I wrote a lot of tests. I really did, but I couldn't crack through the test and get it. So the first company I cracked the test was Bosch, which I went to the interview and cleared it. So I would like to tell about the experience of that first. I was mainly interested in two areas throughout my engineering. One was either embedded systems or web designing. Web designing I've done a lot of course on since we had lockdown, so that was one thing I sat and did. So the first thing, Bosch company came and I cleared the test. And this one thing I would like to mention is that during my test, my computer switched off. Apparently, I forgot to charge it. I thought it would come for an hour. It didn't. It was my bad. So it was through this Higher Pro website, which drains your energy than the rest of the websites, since it has to block all the other stuff that's going to go on. So then I was like, okay, I've stopped my test in middle. I was like, okay, what should I do now? Should I call the customer care and tell them these things happened and continue, or just leave it? Because I thought Bosch was a huge company and they wouldn't really take people like me in. So that's a common conception that people have, because we may not really fit in somewhere. Even I would never think in my life I would get into such a big company. So I called them immediately. I was like, okay, let's forget what's gonna happen. Let's just call. And I continued my test, and I got the results immediately that day, saying my interview for the next day. So that's one thing you need to know. The test and the interview won't be very far from each other. So you kind of have to expect the mail to be sent at 9 o'clock and your interview to be the next day at 10 o'clock. So, see, test is something you can kind of crack because you can look at the monitor, take your time to analyze it. But interview has to be very instantaneous, so you need to know what you're talking about. So I had to study through the night to just to sit for the interview in the next day. And guess what? They never asked anything. I had actually studied for the company. So that's one thing I would like to tell. Yes, you may think you need to know like the entire basics or something or nothing. Just make sure you're talking about it. Doesn't matter if it's like perfectly correct. Just make sure you're talking about it. It's just like your exams. You don't have to know it perfectly. You just have to know it. So that's one thing. That was my technical round. Technical round was quite nice because he asked me what I was interested in. I told him embedded systems. So he asked me about microcontrollers, a bit of C programming. It was pretty easy. I could manage it. No, actually, he didn't even ask me about C programming. So it was just my microcontrollers that came into picture. And the HR interview was like the next day. So no, I think the HR interview was on the same day. Yeah, it was on the same day at like 1 o'clock. So there's this period between your technical interview and your HR interview where you don't know what's happening. We had a WhatsApp group where they were sending one person's name at a time. So it was kind of nerve wracking. It's like an emotional roller coaster where in the first part, if you don't get your name, you're like, okay, I don't need this job. It's fine, I can manage. But once your name comes up in that list, it's like, okay, you have to crack the HR interview now. Some people say HR interviews are just a formality, which I don't believe in because I've been kicked out of a lot of HR interviews, even though I passed the technical interviews. So my HR interview was pretty good. I spoke about my capstone project. I think I took about 15 minutes to talk about it. He was really impressed. He's like, okay, you know what you're doing. I was like, okay, cool. And then that's what happened. And then I got my offer, that the fact that I was placed like the right the next day. So this was completed in like 3 days. That's what I liked about this company. So everything was jam packed and it went about in 3 days. So I didn't have to worry so much about waiting for the results. So the next company I got shortlisted for writing, giving the interview was Epsilon, which was like my worst experience. I did crack the test. I was one of like the 15 people who got shortlisted for the interview, but they never allowed me inside the interview. I waited in the lobby of the interview, like the virtual lobby, for like 1.5 hours. They never let me in. So when I messaged them, even on the group, I mailed them, there was no response. So I thought that was like really unprofessional and I left. There's something about time management, like even though, yes, I agree, they're dealing with a lot of students, they have a lot of going on, but time is important. I could not wait more than 1.5 hours. So I just gave up on that, and plus it was like a job I really liked. It was about web designing role, so there I lost one. And what happened after I got like a core job is that my concentration on interviews kind of went down. So I got shortlisted for a few consultancy companies like PwC and I think KPMG. Yeah, I went through the technical round because they were asking more about my projects, my interests. So that was pretty fine. The one thing I really didn't like about one of the HR interviews is that you get this vibe from the person, you know, like when they're asking you questions, you will get to know if they're really interested in what you're talking.
No, no, keep going, Pooja.
Okay, sorry. So you kind of get that vibe saying whether they're really interested in listening to you or they're listening for the sake of listening. That's what happened in my one of my HR interviews. I was talking about my project, but she hardly looked interested, so I had to cut it short. Then I got to know, okay, I shouldn't have done that. I don't care if you're interested or not. I'm interested in what I did, and I did my capstone project in power electronics domain. I did it with my friend, so that's one thing, and that was one of my experiences. Yes, there are. Some of the interviews are really amazing. Like you're actually interested in giving it to them, and they're actually interested in listening to what you say. But some are really bad. Like my next, like after a point, I decided I'm going to just write core company tests because I had to concentrate on myself for like the starting of 2021. So that is when I gave my exam for Schneider. Schneider was one of the companies I gave my test for. Lamb and Texas Instruments and Analog Devices. Basically, all the big core companies which offered a lot of money. So I got shortlisted for Analog Devices. I had applied for embedded developer role, but I got to know that my interview was on Monday, on Saturday. That's fine. But the art placements department didn't send us the list that we were shortlisted. But the list had already come out like a week before. So I should have had 1 week time to prepare for my interview, but I didn't. So that's one thing I had at 1 o'clock. It lasted for about 1.5 hours. That's what I wanted to inform, saying that the more the package, the longer the interviews are because the more they expect from you. Maybe not like the best of answers, but they do expect. Like my analog devices interview was so long. And he asked me only CS core questions and not even like CS coding questions. I hardly had any coding questions, and it kind of felt like I didn't know anything, but understandable because I never studied CS in that detail. So that's one thing you need to keep in mind. The longer the interview, it's kind of like if you lose hope in the first 10 minutes, you're dead. You're literally dead for the next 1.5 hours because you're just saying, thinking, okay, I've already done a mistake. What if I do another mistake? So, but they don't actually expect you to answer all the questions, but it's better if you do. And I still haven't heard from them back, analog devices. So the Somshekhar sir was like, just forget about it. And they were offering a 20 lakh package, so it's gone. So the next thing I was shortlisted for was Texas Instruments. That was offering only an internship, and they were paying a lot. That interview was amazing from my experience. That was also 1.5 hour long. He did. There were two sections to that where it was like just theory and then logical thinking. He directly told me that okay, your technical part got over, your studies part got over. Now it's more about your logical thinking. He gave me a lot of hints while answering. He, he kind of was expecting answers from me, and I kind of knew that I wouldn't go to the next step after that. So that was one of the best interviews I've ever given. So that has been a roller coaster, and don't expect that all of your interviews, the test somehow you can crack it because somehow you may know that subject pertaining to that test perfectly. Or sometimes, even if you have answered everything, you may not get shortlisted. That's what happened to me when I gave my Samsung test. There were only two coding questions, and they were pretty easy. I executed both of them. I got no errors, and I had passed all the test cases. Still, I didn't get shortlisted for the interview. So that's where I wanted to tell you that the coding is not just not about you writing a series of lines and just executing. It's more about the complexity and the time taken by the code to run. So it's not just about you just getting all the test cases right. And that's one thing you have to concentrate if you're really looking for a CS job, because higher your complexity, the higher chance of you getting shortlisted for the next round. And sometimes they even take questions from your test to ask for, about in the interview. Sometimes people would have just got it by fluke, so they would do that. That would be a nice thing to know what you have done in your test. So that has been my journey, and right now I'm not really applying for any placements, and I have only one offer in my hand right now, when people have like two or three. But it's fine. I'm happy with the job I have, and I think that's all it matters at the end of the day. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Pooja. So, next question will be going to Padma Priya. Can you tell us more about what domains are the best or most sought when it comes to projects?
Yeah. So basically, for projects, there is no such domain which is, better than the other one, uh, per se. But actually speaking, the domain in which you're interested in, if you do a project in that domain, then it'll be better for you to speak in the interview. It'll be easier for you to explain as to why you chose the project, and how you went about it, and how you got the idea to do the project, etc. So, but if you want to explore a lot of domains, then I think projects are the best way to go forward with. Whichever year you're in, wherever, I mean, whichever position you are with or without experience, if you get to work on a project, any project, just go forward with it, and start working on it, because that way sometimes you actually don't know that it is possible for you to like a domain. But once you start working in it, you actually realize that, okay, it actually suits your interests, and you'll be able to go forward with it also. So yeah, it is important for you to try your hands on different domains, but also try to choose one which is, really interesting to you, and which you really want to work in the beginning, like say first, second year, or even third year. Halfway through it, you can work on different domains. But once you come to the end of third year, and the starting of fourth year, you'll anyway have your capstone project. But
పోయిందా
try to narrow down your choices to
లేదే
a minimum of two domains, and see to that, if you're interested in that particular domain, and if you want to apply to a job in a particular domain, you have a project, or you have a research study or something done in that domain, so that you can present it, as the, as a fact that you have interest in that domain, and yes, you would like to work forward in that domain. Yeah, so that's about it. It doesn't really matter which domain it is, but whichever domain you choose, yeah, try to be good at it. That's it.
Thank you so much, Padma Priya. That was really helpful.
అయ్యే చూస్తున్నా
Next question goes to Sri Krishna. So the question would be, did you use any online courses or resources? And if you did, how important are they? How does it add to your resume? And if you could suggest a few, would you let us know, like from which website and what kind of course?
Yeah, sure. So personally, for me and my research, which was in robotics, there wasn't really a lot of courses in college which actually I could correlate with the prerequisites required for my research. Like my research is in the domain of robot motion planning and a few other domains in robotics like SLAM and as well as perception, computer vision. There were a lot of courses, especially in computer vision and machine learning, deep learning. However, when it came to motion planning and SLAM, and the hardcore concepts of robotics, weren't really enough courses slash electives offered by the university, and especially when it comes to non-theoretical research, uh, a few very important topics and concepts like robot operating system, RWA's gazebo, and so the software is required to execute and implement various robotic systems. These were never taught by any professor in the university, and there was uh, and being dependent on professors to learn all of these things was definitely not going to be helpful, because most professors may not be even aware of um, the new up to date latest technologies and softwares which are open sourced. So um, it's really up to the individual student to identify the state of the art softwares slash uh, topics which they are passionate about, and get their hands dirty with respect to the softwares, download the software, read the official documentation provided, learn from it, etc., and then basically just do projects with it and so on. When it comes to theoretical concepts, um, for me, MOOCs helped me a lot, specifically MOOC platforms like Coursera and edX and Udemy. These are the ones which actually helped me quite a bit by providing me the foundation knowledge required for my theoretical research. And uh, we are fortunately a generation which has the abundance of the internet, and the internet, almost everything, whatever we want to learn is already there. So a specific website, if what I would recommend for this thing, a specific concept is actually not probably gonna be work out efficient, or it won't work out, because there are just the number of resources online are just so much in number. You can just for ROS, for example, you can find like 10 to 15 different very good resources. So um, I would say not to depend on just the university syllabus for learning and exploring various new topics, as well as your going deep into one's passion. I think it's make use of the internet and whatever softwares are available, as well as uh, yeah. And also one more thing I want to put in is the import if one is aiming for theoretical research, it's always good to go through the state of the art research papers, because in the end a researcher is going to publish research papers. And thankfully PES has given access to IEEE Explore, which again you can a student can access as many research papers as possible which are published in IEEE conferences and journals. So I would say, uh, since the whole playground is there to play with, just um, I would encourage to go and explore and get your hands dirty as much as possible, and don't restrict yourself to a specific syllabus is what I would recommend. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sri Krishna. That was really helpful. The next question would actually be going to Pranav. So the question for you, Pranav, would be, what do you feel are important points when it comes to resume building?
Right. So there are lots of templates which you can work with, right? So don't put in a lot of information that is not required. Just don't use a lot of space. Telling, oh, my strengths, and my strengths are I'm good listener, good learner. Don't use up a lot of space doing that. Try to have it as simple as possible, so that a person uh, he should get a gist of who you are just by seeing your first page. A lot of people tell that you have to do only a one page resume or something. That's I mean, that depends from person to person, but you definitely can have a two-page resume or something like that, because we are technical people, right? So we definitely have something more to explain, the projects which we have done, the capstone projects which we have done. So we need more more real estate to actually explain all that. So don't be hesitant in that. And once, if you guys have any work experience, doing internships and everything, put them in a higher position above all else, right? I mean, of course, because we are still graduating now, or we're still in college, so your academics should come first. But after that, prioritize your the work experiences which you guys have got, and explain them perfectly of what you have done. And there is always a there's a little bit of exaggeration that definitely goes into when you're building your resume. That's absolutely fine. But be very clear, be very precise of what you want to communicate to them. And yeah, again, as I said, this all the online courses, there should be something which gives you knowledge of what you would love to work with. And that's what they end up being talking points during your resumes, and making your resume a bit better. So projects, work on projects, that is definitely something you should be putting it in, working. And the biggest plus will be writing research papers, working on research papers and having your names on those are the biggest things which will give you the extra brownie points. And yeah, keep it small, keep it simple. The templates are available, so depending on your personal choice, it's not necessary that it has to be colorful and flashy. Depend personal choice again, not that that's going to make a hell lot of a difference or something. But yeah, personal choice. But write all this, prioritize which is more important, right? So if you have done an internship, or if you're doing a project which is very exciting project and everything, those should have the top higher priority. And yeah, I think that's
Thank you so much, Pranav. So now the next question is rather, and actually a really important question which we would like to address. It would be going to Suraj. So how are we supposed to handle the stress of college with multiple other things?
So I know it's not really an easy question to answer. I agree. I myself was under a lot of stress when I was in your place, when I was in your shoes. Like you'll have a your curriculum to concentrate on, and I'm pretty sure like many of you in your sixth semester or in your the third year will also be pursuing internships at various places. So you'll have to concentrate on them too, and then you'll also have your placements going on. So what I would suggest you all is to be organized and to be prepared for the worst. So there's nothing. So like if you sit for a company and you screw up the test, nothing worse can happen. So it's better to be prepared for that. And many a times we used to have placement tests in consecutive days. So if you get disappointed that you didn't do well today, like you're gonna screw up the next exam too. So there's nothing to worry about that. So just a mental state of mind that you need to be prepared for the worst, and like it just happens on its own. So I always believe in like go with the flow, like however it takes you. Just as I'm sure it's gonna end up in a great place. So being more organized and also, please don't come under peer pressure. Like you'll have a lot of friends, like from different departments or from your own batchmates replacing. So just make sure you stay to yourself. You keep yourself composed during any interviews. So during any exams, I'm sure our college won't let our placement test and our curriculum, like internals or ESAs or ISAs, clash with each other. So there's nothing for you to worry about. If worst case it happens, also the companies will understand the placement cell will take the respective actions towards it. So yeah, you just have to
Thank you
keep your
so
cool.
much. Yeah, that's really, really helpful, Suraj. A very important thing to keep in mind. So now, just a small question when it comes to just like a little bit of technicalities in terms of resume. This would be going to Suraj again. If we're talking about extracurriculars or you're trying to maintain a non-technical resume, so what are the exact things that you would put in that kind of resume?
In case if you're mentioning a non-technical aspects in your resume, I would suggest you to mention your language skills, like different languages. It's always a plus point. Like the companies coming throughout pan India. So like I know most of you are not native Kannada speakers. It's always better to display your language skills. Apart from the extracurriculars, the clubs you've been a part of, like in technical clubs, like projects you've done over there, and also the different administrative roles you've played. or like many of you guys, like it's like the entrepreneurs world. Like if you started your own company or been help your brother or father in any kind of business kind of thing, it's always a good thing to always be. It's very important to be technically sound. It's always you'll always be one step ahead, if you're doing something other than technical also, so that that just puts you out of the box. Like they won't judge you the same like judge all your classmates. So I would suggest you also add those skills. Like if you've taken up any exams in the past, like competitive exams, or it can be your 10th grade exam. So that the scores also matter a lot. And so resume building is pretty much that's it, nothing else.
Okay. Thank you so much, Suraj. So this question goes out to the entire panel. Any one person can definitely take it up and answer this question. So the question is, when it comes to the job offers which you get in terms of domain, is it something more like for the embedded domain they get more, or for smart power control it's not as much, or are they equal? And in taking in all kinds of triple E jobs that have been coming in the past or which you have seen or heard of, what is the approximate CTC range?
Um, yeah, so I think with respect to which companies come more where, you'd see I think a more amount of companies coming through embedded, because that embedded robotics is like a specialization of embedded, but general embedded with the VLSI and communications. Like it's not like I wouldn't say it's in-depth embedded, like even like I don't want people to fear that I haven't done embedded, I haven't done electives in embedded, no specialization, no nothing like that. Um, if you sit for a month, I would say that you can learn communications in embedded and maybe a bit of VLSI, the basics that they don't need complex, they don't need projects on, they don't need a lot. But embed is definitely the majority of the placements that come in because it's closer to coding and CS related. I would say power electronics is on the least, usually because it's hard to find power electronics companies in the first place because these companies prefer master students. And I think Suraj also had mentioned earlier that they kind of like experience. They prefer like a 2 to 10 year level of experience. Power electronics is like that. You need to know what you're doing. You can't learn on the job. I mean, you do learn, but only after a certain level of experience. And smart power systems is like the in between, where you get like a decent amount, um, and you don't need too much preparation. You just need to like know what you're talking about. I think that's the general split up. I think there was a second part to the question. Um,
Yeah. The second part of the question is, what is the general CTC range you see across triple E jobs?
So I think you can split it up. You'd see for smart power and power electronics, you'd see 3.3 to like somewhere of 5 LPA. So these are like your core. So I don't want any of you all to be disappointed by that. I genuinely feel that, and professors will agree, I no doubt that getting a job in a core company, irrespective of the pay, is something to be proud of. It doesn't matter what the pay is. The pay is, I mean, I get it, it matters. It matters to us how much we get paid, how much LPA we make. But getting into a core company is some sort of an honor because core companies, it's not easy. They really grill you. They really push you to your limits because when you're in, like you become a part of a much bigger family. When you're in, they'll keep you for 20 years to become one of the top leading kind of members of that group. They take care of you that well. So don't I would say don't focus too much when you're looking at core companies. Don't try and focus too much on the initial CTC range. The range being 3.3 to somewhere around 5.5. Uh, and after 2 years or after a year, the markup in the price in the CTC range goes quite high. I think that's not mentioned much. So you might not have an initial kind of high CTC, but like I told you, after those 2 years of experience, right? What happens is like maybe your CTC doubles. It's not like a generalization that's true throughout the industry level companies. What I would say is another thing is in embedded you get the higher, you get normally tier 2 kind of companies between like say 7 to 10 or 11 that will come through embedded. and those will be competing for with EC kits. But yeah, that's the general range. I think Pooja would also like to say something. I'll let her go ahead.
Sorry, just a few sentences I want to tell about this. Uh, as you asked, like, what are the number of companies that come for power system or embedded system? It actually doesn't depend on the domain as such. It depends on the requirements of the company. So a core company may itself come for CS people. So again, it depends on the requirements at that moment for the company. It's not about the domain at all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mikhail and Pooja. The last and final question for tonight, for this great event, would be going to Pooja. The question would be, so is it wiser to sit for placements after BTech or to pursue an MTech? And for something like that, depending on that, would minors, taking a minors in a subject, would it come into play? And if it does, what would you recommend for a triple E student?
Uh, I would personally say that have a few years of work experience before you do your masters. Let it be MS or MTech, doesn't matter. Because if you think about it, MTech is just another 2 years of BTech. And what did we exactly do in BTech? We just studied like 4 or 5 days before an exam and we wrote it. So that should not repeat again for MTech because MTech will be a more streamlined course. So you have to actually be actively prepared to do the amount of work or it's going to be useless. And if you think about it in BTech, right after BTech, you kind of have more options than after MTech. That's my personal opinion. So that would be better if you could do 2 years of work and get some experience, see what you like, what you don't like, and then go ahead. Because in BTech you can either go for a CS job or a core job. But after MTech, I'm pretty sure you don't really want to go for a CS job after studying core. And the companies also come down at the same time, but the competition also decreases. But yeah, that's one thing I would like you just have a few years of experience, know how the world is going to work outside. If you like it, continue it because many companies themselves offer masters on their requirements, so that would be a plus point. And you could always have a very good letter of recommendations if you're going abroad because that's what matters. And yes, if you're going to do masters right after BTech, it's better if you have a higher CGPA. It's not to discourage anyone. It's just that in MS and in foreign countries, they offer you scholarships based on your marks. So that's one thing. And yes, but about the minor course, when I did my minors, it was pretty cheap. It was not as expensive as it is right now. So I would have recommended you doing masters that time, but not now. It's really expensive, and you really don't learn that much. Yes, you may be introduced to the subject, and whatever I did in minors, I'm kind of using it for my project. So that's fine, but I would recommend you to do other courses online. It has the same value because yes, you would have the PS minor thing, but the companies hardly care about it. They just should know that you have done something in it. Better you go for a cheaper, much better courses online. That's my recommendation, but it's totally up to you.
Thank you so much, Pooja. And that was going to be the last question of tonight. I'm going to pass it over to Vismaya for the vote of thanks.
Yeah, finally, we have reached to the end of this great event. Firstly, I would like to thank all the participants out there who have been listening throughout with a lot of patience. Thank you all. Secondly, I would like to thank all the panelists for taking their time and putting a lot of efforts in answering all our queries. If any of the panelists have something to add, they can go ahead.
Thank you so much, Sanjana and Vismaya, for this great event. I really hope all of us were of some help. And if any of you have any queries, you can always get back to any one of us. I'm sure all of us will be really happy, to reaching out and helping you guys. And just thank you so much for the entire event.
Yeah, thank you so much, Suraj. And all your answers were really informative. If anyone wants to add up, they can continue.
Thank you for providing a platform where we could tell our stories. It's gonna, since it's on YouTube, it's gonna be for years to come. Maybe someday in future we'll look back at it and laugh at it. So, thank you.
Yeah, and reach out, guys. If you have anything, please don't hesitate to reach out. I think that's something which we couldn't do a lot, because you guys will have doubts as they come. It's not that we could address everything right now. You should definitely reach out, I think, at least. Thank you.
Okay, yeah. Thank you all for joining us today for this great event. And I think we have already come to an end. So thank you all once again. And bye.
Yeah. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
all,
you.
guys. This was
Thank
a
you.
Bye,
great
guys.
event.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Kindly join in and follow the Changemakers Society page. And, we thank all our listeners and our panelists once again. Thank you, guys. Bye.